NASA has shut down. The space agency that gave us the moon landings, the Mars rovers, and the Hubble telescope is now forced to stop most of its work. This shutdown happened because the US government could not agree on a new budget. Without funding, NASA cannot keep running as usual. But this doesn't mean everything is closed. Some important missions, like the International Space Station, will still continue. In this video, we will explain why NASA had to shut down, what happens to its employees, and which projects are affected. The main reason NASA has shut down is because of a government funding problem. Every year, the US Congress has to agree on a budget to pay for federal agencies, including NASA. If Congress fails to pass this budget on time, the government cannot spend money. This is called a government shutdown. Since NASA is a government agency, it depends completely on this funding. Without it, the agency cannot pay most of its workers or continue normal operations. This is not the first time something like this has happened. In the past, other shutdowns have also forced NASA to pause its work. But each time, the impact is serious because space missions are very expensive and time-sensitive. Unlike other offices that can simply close their doors, NASA is responsible for running satellites, research programs, and even the safety of astronauts in space. That means every day of shutdown creates delays that can take months or even years to recover from. When NASA shuts down, the impact is felt the most by its employees. NASA has tens of thousands of workers, including scientists, engineers, technicians, and administrators. But during a shutdown, most of them are told to stop working immediately. They are placed on what is called furlough. This means they cannot go to the office, they cannot check work emails, and they cannot continue any projects. For these employees, it feels like hitting a pause button on their careers. Only a small group of workers are considered essential or accepted. These are the people whose jobs are critical to safety and national security. For example, the staff who keep the International Space Station running must continue their duties, because astronauts' lives depend on them. Some satellite operators also stay on duty, since leaving satellites unattended could cause permanent damage. But everyone else has to wait at home, without pay, until the government reopens. This situation creates stress and uncertainty. Employees do not know when they will be paid again or when they can return to work. Many of them feel frustrated because years of planning and research can be delayed or lost. For young scientists and researchers, especially those working on time-sensitive experiments, the shutdown can be devastating. Even though NASA is shut down, not everything comes to a complete stop. Some operations are simply too important to pause. These are called accepted activities. The most obvious example is the International Space Station. Astronauts are living and working in space right now, and their safety cannot be put on hold. This means flight controllers, mission support staff, and emergency teams must keep working around the clock to make sure the astronauts are safe and supplied. Another group that continues working are the people who monitor active spacecraft and satellites. NASA has probes traveling around Mars, orbiting the Moon, studying the Sun, and even exploring deep space. If these missions are left unattended, they could be damaged or even lost forever. To prevent this, a small team stays on duty to monitor and control these spacecraft. Emergency systems are also maintained. For example, if a satellite malfunctions, or if there's a risk of collision in orbit, NASA still has staff ready to respond. Without this, millions of dollars in hardware could be destroyed, and years of scientific data could disappear. However, everything else, including future missions, research, educational programs, and public outreach, is paused. Launch preparations, laboratory work, and new discoveries are all delayed. This creates a huge backlog that NASA will have to catch up on once funding returns. The shutdown has a serious impact on NASA's missions. Space exploration depends on careful planning, strict schedules, and constant progress. When funding stops, all of that slows down. One of the biggest concerns is the Artemis program, NASA's plan to return humans to the Moon. Every day of delay means rocket testing, spacecraft preparation, and astronaut training are pushed further back. A shutdown that lasts weeks could shift launch dates by months, or even years. The same is true for Mars exploration. NASA's rovers and orbiters at Mars are still sending data, but the teams that study this information are furloughed. That means important discoveries are sitting untouched, waiting for scientists to come back. Future Mars missions, including plans to bring samples back to Earth, also face setbacks. Telescopes are another area hit hard. The James Webb Space Telescope and other observatories continue to gather data, but much of that data cannot be processed or analyzed until scientists return to work. In science, timing is everything, and losing weeks of progress can mean missing opportunities to study rare cosmic events. Even Earth science research is delayed. Satellites that track weather, climate change, and natural disasters are still working, but the scientists who analyze the data are often not allowed to continue. This creates gaps in research that can affect not just science, but also public safety and planning. The shutdown doesn't only stop missions and research inside NASA. It also affects how the agency connects with the public and the world. During a shutdown, NASA's official website and social media accounts become quiet. Updates about space discoveries, mission progress, or even stunning space images stop being shared. For many people, NASA is their window into the universe, so this silence is felt immediately. Education and outreach programs are also frozen. NASA often works with schools, universities, and community projects to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. But during the shutdown, these activities are cancelled or delayed. This means classrooms lose access to NASA resources, students miss opportunities to interact with experts, and young minds lose motivation at a critical time. The impact also spreads internationally. NASA partners with space agencies around the world, like the European Space Agency, JAXA in Japan, and others. When NASA pauses its work, these global collaborations are slowed down as well. International missions that rely on U.S. support or coordination are left waiting. For countries depending on NASA's expertise, the shutdown creates frustration and uncertainty. In short, the shutdown affects more than just rockets and satellites. It affects science communication, education, and global teamwork, three things that are essential for the future of space exploration. The good news is that the shutdown will not last forever. Eventually, Congress will reach an agreement on funding, and NASA will reopen. When that happens, employees will return to their jobs, projects will restart, and operations will slowly get back to normal. Furloughed workers are usually paid for the time they missed, but the loss of momentum cannot be undone. Space projects are delicate and tightly scheduled, so every pause creates delays that can take months or even years to recover from. For ongoing missions, teams will need time to catch up on the work they missed. Scientists will have to go through backlogged data from telescopes and satellites. Engineers will have to review missed deadlines for rocket launches and spacecraft assembly. Even public communication, which was silent during the shutdown, will take time to rebuild as NASA tries to reconnect with the world. The bigger question is about the future. Should something as important as space exploration depend so heavily on politics? Every shutdown reminds us that NASA's progress is tied to government decisions, and that scientific discovery can be paused by political disagreements. For many, this feels like a risk to the future of human spaceflight and exploration. Still, NASA has always shown resilience. Whether it is landing on the Moon, exploring Mars, or peering into the farthest corners of the universe, the agency finds a way forward. The shutdown is only a chapter in its story, a setback, but not the end. Humanity's journey into space will continue, even if it sometimes faces delays here on Earth. NASA may be shut down right now, but its mission is far from over. The stars are not going anywhere, and humanity's curiosity will always push us forward. What this shutdown really shows is how fragile progress can be when science depends on politics. Thousands of workers are waiting, missions are delayed, and discoveries are paused. But once funding is restored, NASA will rise again and continue its work of exploring the unknown. What do you think? Should space exploration ever be slowed down by government shutdowns? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated on the latest space news, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Together, let's keep our eyes on the stars.